guy's our ticket to fame and popularity. All we gotta do is get him enrolled in school, and he'll help us become popular. He's a looker. Wait, be careful!
He's dope. I'd go out with him.
Go Fungus. I am too sexy for Milan. Too sexy for Milan, New York, and Japan. Today, buddy, we're gonna discuss the beverage.
What are you doing, Mrs. Tunney?
We figure we's a little juice.
No, we think that you ooze.
Go, we the juice!
Hollywood Pictures presents Encino Man. He's 1,000,000 years old.
Milk does the body good, huh?
Great hair.
And living proof that evolution is not an exact science.
Get down, freshener. Squeeze in the juice.
Buddy, you got him talking like you now. Song.
Welcome back.
Coming in hot.
Coming in hot. That was a little hot, actually.
Right said Fred.
I've turned that down. That is a very sexy song.
So
Ladies
good.
and gentlemen, and everybody in between.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the show. Everybody out there, my name is Pete.
And I'm Scott.
And these are the movies that made us gay.
Welcome back. This is our part 2 of our love for Brendan Fraser summer miniseries.
Yes, it's our Brendan Fraser obsession
Crazy for
series.
Fra-zee.
Crazy for Fra-zee. I love it.
So we did do these two both on the vote. The Mummy won, but we just figured, why the fuck not? We're just going to do Encino Man.
Yeah, the Mummy won in our like head-to-head, but this movie, come on, I can't.
I mean, it's just natural
Yeah.
that we had to do Encino Man.
Yes, why don't you introduce our wonderful guest?
We had one of my favorite people, Ashley from Keep It Weird.
Yay!
Hi.
Welcome back to the show. Hello.
I feel like a very appropriate movie to have you on for. And you were talking about this movie about like a month and a half ago on your podcast. I did listen to your what was the podcast theme that week?
It was an archaeological, anthropological sort of theme. And basically, I brought up Encino Man, and I was like,
naturally,
we could learn a lot about where we came from if we watched Encino Man. And my fiance Joe disagreed.
He's not about the scientific accuracy of Encino Man?
Oh, I have questions for him.
No. He has a lot of thoughts for you.
Okay.
I know that he has a degree in anthropology, Mr. Smarty
Yes.
Pants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, he does not share the love that I have for this really terrible film.
Sure, yes, indeed. But I mean, to say nothing of the fact that Brendan Fraser is a 6'3" specimen of a very Anglo-Saxon looking person.
Tall drink of water. But I think the casting works, though. Because I do think that he looks like he stepped right out of... Now, help me out, Ashley. Like, what period do cavemen come from?
Well...
I suppose that's a complicated question.
How do I know?
Yeah.
I mean... Well, okay, so at one point in the movie, Pauly Shore, Stoney, he says something about the bowl, remember? It was
Right.
like the...
Yes.
The piece of like pottery they find in the pool.
Yeah, he says the period of which that
does.
comes from, but
Yes.
I don't remember what it was. It started with an M.
Neither do I.
I like the stupid character note that you can tell that Pauly Shore probably had when he did this role, because I'm sure that probably Pauly Shore had a lot to say about this character, because he's pretty much just playing Pauly Shore. But I like that he's a smart stoner.
Yeah.
Like, I like that he's kind of like book smart.
Yeah, he's a sweetie pie. And the thing is that just right off the bat, we need to bring up the fact that this is the same character from Son-in-Law.
Oh, I have in my notes shared cinematic universe with Son-in-Law.
He says at the end of the movie, I'll be back.
And
I mean, the thing is, though, is that it's not a shared cinematic. It's like an alternate timeline because he doesn't recognize Link
Yeah.
in Son-in-Law.
And his name isn't Stoney or Stanley.
Yeah.
What is his
it's
name?
Crawl.
It's called
Crawl.
which would have been a decent name for Link as well.
Quickly in the connections with Son-in-Law, I like that. Spoiler alert: when the cave woman comes in the very last scene, I like that they pretty much give her the makeover Carla Gugino gets from Pauly Shore
Yeah.
in Son-in-Law.
Yeah.
Like the exact
You're right.
same makeover, same haircut. Like they
Yeah.
give her like a.
It's a really poofy bob. Like it's a bob with an undercut because
You're right.
as girls, as you know, Ashley, if you're going to get that length of hair, you got to do the undercut on the neck.
Yes.
Right.
Because
But-
then you're just a mush.
Oh yes, exactly. Then you're just Christmas tree head, and it's not work. But it was also like just hyper blown out, so it was kind of rounded and blonde, the same color as Carla Gugino. Why did they make her blonde in Son-in-Law? I'll never know.
Well, she's more of an orange in Son-in-Law.
That's true. This is true. It's not quite blonde.
They didn't quite leave the bleach in for as
Long
long as they
enough.
should have.
No.
It's a little brassy. Scott, do you have some statistics, some stats, some paperwork?
I don't have too many.
on Encino
I
Man?
don't have too many behind the story.
Behind the scenes.
Behind-the-scenes
BTS.
stuff from Encino Man, because surprisingly, there's been no retrospects of this written online. Which
How
I was,
could there not be?
Weird.
I was
How
kinda
could there not
shocked.
be?
How has there not done anything for like the 25-year anniversary?
Oh, my
But
goodness.
Son-in-Law was directed by Les Mayfield, and he is a veteran of behind-the-scenes promotional documentaries of making of movies. Like he directed
So
the
he's a-
making of Jurassic Park.
So he's an auteur.
Okay.
So like he's just sort of an ad guy that would just throw together clip packages for like HBO or anything that showed like making of
Sure.
stuff, anything that you would find on like a special edition
That was
VHS
the director
or something.
of Encino Man?
Yes, Les Mayfield.
Okay, because the movie is sort of thrown together like a collection of clips for a movie to make a trailer.
It's almost like a long.
All over the place.
It's a long montage.
Well, it would make
Yeah.
The
it
scenes don't really connect to each other.
It would make
No.
sense because this movie was shot in between the months of December of 91 and February of 92, and this movie came out May 22nd of 1992. So quick turnaround
This
for
movie
this movie.
came out 92. I thought this was 93 the entire time.
Summer of 92.
Okay,
Wow.
so let me say this then, because I was doing the math all wrong in my head because I thought this was 92. So my notes say that Pauly Shore was 24 during the making of this movie. That would have put him even younger at 23 during the making of this movie. Why does he look 38?
Yeah.
He's 23? He looks like a 38-year-old man in this
He's
movie.
the oldest high school student to ever go to Encino High.
I mean, it's a movie in the 90s, so we can't fault them for having older actors, but he just looks so old.
I feel like, what's the guy's name? Robin Sweeney's boyfriend. The sort of like bad boy.
Michael
He looks
DeLuise.
old as shit, too.
Michael DeLuise looks old as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
He's like 30.
Yeah. Sean Astin in
I
92.
think he looks age appropriate.
I think he was about 19.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
probably got him over the age of 18 so he could work 8
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah. So he was probably about right. But Pauly, that's insane to me. Wow.
So, Ashley, this movie came out the same day as Alien 3 and Far and Away.
Here's the
believe
thing.
that?
I love Alien 3. And no one can tell-
I do
Let me
not
get-
like Alien 3. It is by far my least favorite of the Alien canon.
I can take or leave
Yeah,
it.
I like Alien Resurrection more, but
I would peg you for an Alien Resurrection kind of a gal. Interesting.
We just rewatched Alien Resurrection.
We did.
I do say not a great movie, but I really do love the bathing beauty xenomorph scene, though.
yes, that's beautiful. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful
It
scene.
is very beautiful. The xenomorphs in water swimming is very
It's a cool visual.
interesting. They're Esther Williams moment. Wow. Okay, so this places me again as the grand dame in the room.
So
this
you would
places
have-
me
you would have-
firmly in high school.
You would have been in high school.
I was a freshman. This was my freshman year.
You would have been like hanging out with these kids in the hockey rink.
I was a young freshman, so I probably wouldn't have been able to go to the hockey rink, or if I went, I would have been like either by myself or with one friend, like in the corner talking to no one.
I could see you hanging out with Data from the Goonies.
I was going to say I would have been hanging out with Jonathan Ke Huy Quan with Short Round. For every time I watch this movie, because it takes like probably about 10 years in between viewings, I always forget that Short Round is in this.
Yeah.
And when I saw him, it just made me so happy. I was just like, oh, it's Data. It's Short Round. It's a reunion. I love it.
Now, since we mentioned the hockey, is there a lot of hockey in Encino?
I mean, I guess there's a sport niche for everything in Los Angeles.
Yeah. There's enough people to have a rink. I
mean,
know.
it was probably one of those things that maybe in the original script treatment, it was a roller rink and they just kind of figured we need to make this a little cooler.
Yeah, I guess. Ice hockey's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I would like to... Oh, I'm sorry. I would like to talk about the fashions right off the bat.
Oh, boy.
Right off the bat. So, okay, couple of things. Granted,
A lot of mesh.
There's a lot of mesh. But, okay, granted, since this is 1992 and we're a little earlier, it's practically the late 80s. So, you watch this movie, and it doesn't scream to me, oh, look how 90s they look.
We're just sort of going into grunge, like tipping our toe into it a little
now,
bit.
I don't know if it's because I lived through it. And, you know, I was a freshman in high school the time.
You can
so
buy all
me,
these clothes in Cotton On now.
Well, no. What I was going to say is it doesn't scream they look so 90s. They just look like they're just wearing clothes.
Yeah.
They just look like an alien came to Earth and were just like, dress these humans in clothings. And they put them in like, here are jean pants and here is white shirt.
What's the jock's name in the
Matt.
show?
Matt, yeah.
Matt. So Matt dresses like a greaser.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, and he has like a blown out pompadour.
Well, this is very early 90210. This is season 2, 90210.
You are so right. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, so that's where that's coming from. Because that early 90s, we didn't know what was going on. So we were just pulling from everywhere.
Yeah, we were confused.
Yes, and very confused. Stoney, Pauly Shore, I mean, there's so much to say about this character. Clearly, it's just Pauly. But the idea here is that this is 1992, and this guy is wearing, like, bell-bottoms and, like... It's not even... It's like a 70s pastiche. It's like no one in the 70s dressed like that. But that's what people in the 90s
It's like
thought.
an idea of the 70s or late 60s.
Yeah.
So is this like if we go and watch like like Riverdale or some shit like that, and there's like some kid wearing like Jinko jeans and like a shiny silver like baggy button down shirt with like wraparound sunglasses and like spiky, like, is that what this is? Like somebody was dressing like Mad 1999 on like, on like some teen show today. That's insane to me.
Here's the thing. I don't think that you can even count Pauly Shore in the conversation of the wardrobe of this film.
Yeah.
Because he's on another planet.
Yeah.
So I was reading that Pauly Shore was originally cast as Link, or they met with him first before they met with Brendan. And and then they kind of did like a casting switch when they discovered Brendan Fraser, and most of Shore's dialogue was improvised due to the fact that his character was not in the original script.
Oh my God.
So they just sort of inserted this character because this was meant to be a Pauly Shore vehicle, so they just sort of just put him there as the friend.
This movie would be even more trash without Pauly Shore. He's the best part of this movie.
Like at first,
I know we're crazy for Fra-zee.
No,
but
no, you're absolutely right, because you think like, oh, Pauly Shore, it's just like this weird, like throwaway kind of caricature that he's doing. But as the movie goes on, he's really the heart and soul
There's some
of these characters.
There's some depth to him.
he's great.
He kind of gets he gets Link the best out of anyone in the movie.
Yes. And Pauly
Shore is just like the unsung hero of the 90s anyway.
I mean, I'm proud to say that I enjoy Jury Duty.
Jury Duty's good.
In the Army now.
In the Army now with Lori Petty.
Yeah. And
Son-in-law, he's great.
And of course, Son-in-law.
Also, Link is in the Army now, too.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So it's a full Pauly universe.
And
it's like the same bit where like Link comes up and he says something and Pauly Shore is like, do I know that guy?
Wow.
And then like the scene moves on.
Wow.
Like he has this weird deja vu of like, have I met
it's like
you
an
before?
alternate universe.
I love the Polyverse. They've got to put these out on like a Blu-ray set.
So that makes me think of that Brendan and Pauly just must have been friendly. And he was like, oh sure, I'll come and do you a solid and just do this quick little walk on for the day.
Sure.
Well, did they all have the same director? That would make sense, but I don't know.
I don't know.
But also, this leads to what I have later on in my notes, that Dave Sean Astin's character is the villain of this movie.
He's kind of a
He's
jerk.
100% the villain of this movie.
Thank
I had that
you.
in my notes too.
Okay, good.
I think I really saw
I
that
did.
on this viewing.
He's a horrible friend, and he's a horrible friend from scene 1. It's not even like we find out he's weird. Like
No,
he's
yeah.
awful
Yeah.
from the first scene of this movie. I even wrote like the first time where they get to school, like before Link is even in the picture, he has a line where he says, "Robin Sweeney is mine,"
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like mad incel energy.
Yes, he's
Like,
very
who is this
predatory.
guy?
Yeah, very predatory towards Robin.
Mm-hmm.
Very weird with Link.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all about his agenda, and his entire agenda is, I want to have a pool party in my disgusting standing water hole in my backyard.
Yeah. I want to be popular. All he cares about.
Yeah.
And yeah, at one point, like Stoney says, like about Robin Sweeney again. He says that you could have had her in grade school, and Sean Astin's character Dave is like, yeah, but she wasn't hot then.
Yeah,
And it was
Yeah.
like, ew.
yeah.
She was like 11.
But you were in grade school too. Like, your 11-year-old self is like, no, she's a surfboard. I'm going to wait for
And
her to
that's-
like.
Yeah, that's the incel part of it. Is that
Totally.
like, oh yeah, you're allowed to write home about Sean Astin. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, Sean Astin looked like a boring like dad in 1992 when he was like 19.
Do you know that I helped out Sean Astin at Barnes & Noble actually once?
really?
So total dad
love
move. It was like opening on the dot. He was waiting outside.
wow.
Love it.
And
I love it.
he came to the kids section where I was working at the time, and he wanted the Captain Underpants books. And I was like, "Oh, sure,
Adorable.
Oh, sure, Sean,
Like all of them.
right this way," because he was going to a birthday party and for his daughter, and they needed to get a present, so he got a Captain Underpants
Aw.
box set. But it was funny because like my reaction to when Sean walked up to me was, "Hey, Sean, what's up?" Just like I was just so friendly with him, just from like stuff
Yeah.
like the Goonies,
Like,
Lord of
we're
the
pals.
Rings.
Yeah.
Like I just like, oh, hi, what's up? Oh, sure. Dave,
I've done that before.
Dave Plinky, sure.
I worked with Pauly Shore when I worked at Flappers at the Comedy Club. He did a weekend there, and
Yeah, of course.
he is extraordinarily sweet,
Yeah.
but also incredibly and permanently fucked up.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, come on.
And like through no fault of his own, like I can't tell the whole story because it's just like too sad and too personal. But
Yeah.
like he is messed up, and it's not a drug thing. It's like he was so incredibly famous.
Yeah.
In his 20s, like so incredibly
a very
famous.
specific '90s famous too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like his fans are very like crazy with him. Like he told me at one point, he was like, I'm going to take some pictures with these fans, but like don't let them grab onto me. They always grab onto me,
Oh my god.
and that's exactly what happened. The first woman, she like grabbed onto him and was like pulling him, and he was like, please stop, please stop.
Oh my
Like
God.
he's like, he has like PTSD from people
Oh.
literally like jumping on his small body.
Wow.
Pauly Shore has an interesting background in Los Angeles because he grew up around
Yeah.
stand-up comedy because his parents owned the Comedy Store.
His mother.
Yeah, his mother just
Yeah.
passed away, didn't
yeah.
she?
Yeah, she did. Mitzi.
So
Last
they're
year.
just these staples of the Sunset Strip at the time.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we were watching just some YouTube videos looking for Pauly Shore, like maybe on MTV or something, talking about this movie. And there's some MTV stuff with him interviewing Keanu.
I sent you that earlier today. Did you watch it?
No, that's what that was?
It's
Yeah.
super cute because Keanu is about 25 maybe in the clip.
Keanu's fucking adorable
And
in
he's
it.
super cute. And he's like, "Oh, I saw you. I saw you at the Improv on Melrose." And Pauly was like, "No, you didn't." And he's like, "Yeah, it was at the Improv and blah, blah, blah. And you did this and you did that." And Pauly was like, "Well, it was a Comedy Store." And Keanu was like, "No, it was the Improv." And I'm sitting on the couch going, "No, Keanu, it was the Comedy Store." Because in like, in like 90 or 91, like Pauly would not have been playing at the Improv because his mother owned the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like, I don't like to cross you, Keanu.
Yeah.
But I will.
yeah, exactly.
They also mention in that YouTube video that Pauly read for Bill and Ted.
For Ted, yeah.
And he read for Ted.
Wow.
And he lost out to Keanu. And I always just and then that just kind of got me thinking. I was like, I wonder if he just had years of resentment from that.
Maybe.
Because Bill and Ted was such a huge sleeper hit.
Yeah.
For the late 80s.
Yeah. Interesting.
I mean, I guess
And really, became a cult classic, which none of Pauly's movies really did. I mean, there's like a select few of us that are like, Encino Man rules, but like it doesn't. It's bad.
Although I would have to say, gun to my head, if I was at the video store and I had to rent one over the other, I would probably pick Son-in-Law.
I would also choose Son-in-Law over Encino Man.
I mean, Encino Man has like Brendan's dreamy face, that angel face,
Very true.
like all through this movie.
He has very handsome eyes.
He just has an angel face. He's got the face of an angel, and there is just so much. And for me, being like 14 or whatever, watching this movie, they find this like caveman, they throw him in the bathtub, they procure this clothing for a full-grown man who is neither of them are the same size.
It's very true.
So I was reading that there was wardrobe issues.
Yeah.
That at 6'3", Brendan was too big for the wardrobe created by costume designer Marie France.
Yes.
So all of his clothes had to be made special and tailored to his very tall, lean frame.
Wow.
So it's like...
Because as we saw in Gods and Monsters the other night, Brendan Fraser is a big doofus. Like, he's a giant, just lumbering dude. And, but like I was saying, it's like there's just this relationship that the three of them have with him, and he is playing, this Encino Man who is just like very childlike, but also he's very like they're very hands-on with each other.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I feel like he's so lovable and childlike and innocent when in reality, I'm pretty sure that caveman would have killed someone within 10 minutes of being unfrozen.
Totally.
Yes, indeed. Probably, he's just looking for food. He's looking for his cave woman.
I always do find the opening scenes of this movie to be harrowing.
It's a journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's a journey in, Pangea or wherever we are. It's not Pangea.
It's Encino.
It's Encino, clearly.
So I was wondering, do you think that the Los Angeles County area
basin
would have been underwater at this time
of
when the movie opens?
No.
I don't know.
No.
Wait.
I love that I'm just asking you all of these like you would know.
Let me tell you
Joe, I know,
that
actually.
the Tongva people, the Gabrielino people, have been in the San Gabriel Valley for, would venture to say, 1,000 years. There are cave paintings in Santa Barbara.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
There's literally cave drawings in Santa, and the fucked up thing about the cave drawings in the caves, they're beach caves.
Did somebody vandalize them?
Well, okay, so they're beach caves, so it's very like the Craft, like they're very like right on like this cove, like in the ocean and like all this ocean water. But when you go in, there are now big grates and you can't get to them anymore. And it's not that like cholos came and vandalized them. It's just that like they were open to the public all the way until like the 60s or the 70s. So just like dumb kids were going in and writing like Jughead was here, like in like the 40s and the 50s.
I feel like if we're going to talk about what was going on at that time and if there could be a caveman frozen in the ground, it's sort of like, so Hostel was the answer to like 9/11 and terrorism, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre was the answer to Vietnam War, and I think Encino Man is just the answer to being scared of California earthquakes.
Sure.
Yeah. Everyone thought that LA was going to break off into the ocean.
Because we're not sure yet. It could happen.
Yes, indeed. The big one. We're waiting for the big one.
Pete's mom is obsessed with the big one.
Oh, she's waiting for the big one.
She always says
it's happening.
When the big one happens.
When the earthquake happens. When it happens.
When the earthquake happens.
It's a when. Yeah, and it's the earthquake. She didn't even call it the big one anymore. It's just the earthquake. When the earthquake happens, Where are our shoes under the bed? Do you have a good pair of shoes under the bed that you can just reach so you can run out of the house in the middle of the night? Ashley,
is that a thing?
Yes. You need a pair of shoes.
I hope that
Right
you
next to the
don't.
bed.
But I thought you're not supposed to. I thought you're not supposed to run outside.
Well, I mean, just when all the windows shatter in the big one. You know, you're
Yeah,
gonna be
but
glass everywhere.
I've heard that you're supposed to stay inside because the chances of you running outside and being crushed by something that fell on you
Yes.
is like higher than dying in your home.
This is true. This is true. You can tell Melinda, but what I'm just, I'm just saying, you know, your windows in your bedroom are going to explode in towards
Yeah.
you.
You're right.
And so you're going to need to cover those feet. And also, don't hang anything above your
I was
bed.
going to say, Ashley, I hope that you don't have any shelves
No.
above your bed.
Picture
I
frames.
don't.
No picture frames, no shelving units, anything like that. That's just going to fall right on your head.
I need to do some rearranging, but
Yeah.
not much.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first big California earthquake when you first moved out here? I remember mine.
I do.
this
Or
summer.
are you waiting for it? So.
But it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
It hasn't gotten bad until this last year. Last year, actually.
Do you remember
Last
the one
year,
on the 4th of July? I was going to say
Yeah.
the one on 4th
Yep.
of July last year. I remember I was writing an order in the dairy box, and I just felt the floor shaking, and I saw all of our racks just like start swaying. And then I ran out, and I was just like, oh, shit.
It's worse when you see stuff moving,
Yeah.
I think.
Joe and I were watching Independence Day.
Love it.
That's appropriate.
And as it was like right when the scene where like Jada and Will go outside, it was like right when the aliens were showing up.
Oh, you mean
and our whole
Vivica?
apartment started shaking. Oh, Vivica, you're right.
How dare you?
I'm thinking of his real life voice.
Yes. That's an intense scene for there
yeah.
to be an actual earthquake.
It sure was. I was
You
like,
know
it's
why?
happening.
Yeah.
That's why.
That's why.
That's why. Yeah.
I remember my first big earthquake. I was in second grade.
I wasn't here yet.
I was in second grade,
Wasn't
and
in LA.
it freaked me the fuck out. I was like, "What?"
Well, I want to say that the big earthquake happened on my birthday. I think
Oh,
the
the
Northridge
Northridge?
quake in the early '90s happened on my birthday. I think.
This movie is pre-Northridge earthquake, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that
Yeah.
was what I was wondering is if
Yeah.
it was literally an answer to
Yeah,
the scary
No.
earthquake, but it wasn't.
yeah. Northridge is 94. This is
Wow.
92. So they're prescient. You know, with the La Brea tar pits and all of that good stuff. It's like there's a tie to Los Angeles having this like prehistoric. We all saw Volcano.
We all saw it.
You know,
I prefer Dante's Peak, but that's a conversation for another podcast.
and I like to think of Volcano as a documentary of what could happen. Speaking of documentaries of what could happen, and Encino Man, this also brings me to. Do you remember Mermaid: The Body Found?
of course, yes.
Ashley, did you watch Mermaid:
What?
The Body Found?
This Mermaid the
No.
Body Found is very on brand for you and Keep It Weird too.
It was a mockumentary, but it was on like the Discovery Channel, and it was all actors,
And
but they played it off as real.
And they introduced and they played it off like it's real. And then as you're
And how-
watching
I did
it,
not
it kind of
see
slowly
it,
dawns
but I
on
have
you.
read about it.
It kind of
Oh.
slowly dawns on you that you're being gooped as you're watching it.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you this: those actors, oh man, they need.
They're legit.
Yeah, they need representation.
Break out the
today.
Emmys.
Yeah, they were the shit. I was fully on board with the whole evolution of the mermaids.
I mean, it makes total sense.
It makes so much
if you're
sense.
going to somehow explain how mermaids actually exist.
It makes so much sense. The footage, yeah. But the science, 100% real.
Speaking of good acting, this movie has very little of it. So I think that's why Son-in-Law tips more towards my favorite than this one. Is
Sure.
because this one, the performances are so insane. There's so many, there's so many little characters. First of all, Rose McGowan before
Oh my
surgery.
God.
Film,
Yes.
film debut of Rose McGowan, I believe.
Where is her top lip? Who knows? It's not in this
No one
movie.
knows.
It's not in this movie.
We haven't found it yet.
Yeah, she almost. I was like, not sure if it was her. 'Cause
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it wasn't until she spoke, and then I was like, "Oh my god!"
And
that
I
is
want to
Rose
say
McGowan.
Rose is in Biodome, too. That
Really?
She later came back for a Pauly Shore movie. Yeah, I think she's
in
one of their
Biodome.
girlfriends in Biodome.
She is in Biodome.
Then what's the actress's name from The Craft and Empire Records?
Oh,
Robin Tunney,
Robin
my
Tunney.
favorite character of the movie.
Robin Tunney.
She is the best.
She is DTF. She wants that Cro-Magnon dick.
I'm
Yes, she does.
I'm a sucker for a Valley Girl in the movie, and what I appreciate about this version of a Valley Girl is that she's like a Raven Beauty Valley Girl.
Yeah,
like she's
not
not
your
a
typical
she's
blonde.
not like a dumb blonde.
Yes,
She's
indeed.
like she's a brunette.
Yes, indeed.
And she's horny.
Oh, she's so horny. She's so horny for Link.
I want to fuck.
Oh, that was a little quiet. I would like to talk about Dave's parents.
Oh, I love them. Sort of. I love how he's totally gaslights them.
Yeah.
Okay. So his mom is like 90s working mom. So she's got shit going on. She's got like whatever it is she does, real estate probably, or some sort of interior design. She's got clients. She's got phone calls, and she does not have time for these kids. She's got an agenda, and Dave is not on it. The dad, Richard Masur, who I know and love from A, License to Drive, and B, the It miniseries.
I was going to say it.
Yeah.
He plays
He plays
the Jewish
Stan.
one.
Yeah, he plays Stan.
Stan.
Stanley. They're just so ready to buy the fact that they just forgot that they have a foreign exchange student living with them. What?
I mean, they are letting their 17-year-old son dig this hole in the backyard.
This is true.
Too.
Yeah, because it's not their idea. Joe and I had this argument before we started it, and he was like, I don't know what, like, he's not going to dig his own pool. And I was like, I'm pretty sure the parents, it's like his summer, like, chores. And no, he's digging his own pool.
Go dig the pool.
This whole digging the pool thing, no. I don't care how much I want to be popular. I want everybody to come to my house to have a pool party.
One pool party, it's prom senior year. Then it's done. Then you move.
In what universe am I going to dig an entire pool?
None.
No, this is not. With a shovel? Come on. No, this is crazy.
But how else are we going to get a caveman?
I mean, they could have just had, like, the pool people digging it, and then they leave for the day,
Sure.
and then there was an earthquake.
You know what? This movie does not focus on the plot
This is
too
true.
often.
No, this is true. So we have the gaslighted parents. Okay, so in rolling, let's just say whatever. We find the big block of ice. They dig it up. They unearth the block.
They give him a name.
They find Link. We have our sexy bath time montage.
I mean, it's the makeover scene.
It's the makeover
these
scene.
two guys giving him a makeover.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a pretty great scene. There's a lot of touching involved. There's a lot of these boys just like manhandling.
They were very eager to strip
True.
off his loincloth.
Yes.
And get him naked in the
And
bathtub.
Get him in the bathtub, which this like McMansion that Dave lives in and out in the valley, totally plausible house. I've been in that house several times. I know people who live in similar houses. We're gonna give. Oh, we do have a clip of the cool caveman name.
Yeah,
let's listen to that.
We gotta give him a cool name.
Axel.
Yeah. No, come on, not Axel. This is serious. Okay. I mean, we've got the missing Link standing in my bedroom. Link! We'll call him Link.
Okay, cool. Look, David, I was thinking maybe we could call him Stony number 2 because he's got my same do, and he's from the Stone Age.
I like Link better.
Okay, we'll call him Link, but can I call him Linkage?
Cool.
Ew.
Weasel.
This weasel thing.
It just sounds like somebody just jerking off.
If I could make that sound, that's the only sound I'd ever make. I love the weasel sound.
They looped it in like several times because
I recall.
Yeah, you're familiar. Okay, so they decide the big plan is Dave's big plan, the villain of the movie. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm not popular. I need to be popular. Robin doesn't like me. I need her to like me. And the way that I will get this to happen is to bring the sexy caveman to school with us.
Well, at first he just
Right.
wanted to bring over people from the school and go look at the caveman in his garage.
like a sideshow.
Like a sideshow.
Freak.
And I was
Because
just...
he didn't know he was going to, like, wake up.
And then I was thinking,
sure.
I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
could you imagine us in high school that somebody just approached you in the hallway and
Wanna
just
see this
said,
caveman?
do you want to see this caveman that is unthawing in my garage?
That's the thing,
Like-
too. Robin Sweeney, the, like, love interest
Yeah.
in this, she's so sweet, and she tries so hard to let him down easy.
Yes.
Over and over and over again, and he's a fucking creep.
Because, you know, in other movies like this, the cool popular girl could be super mean or super just like,
Yeah.
fuck you, like, get out of here, nerd, or whatever. And you can tell that they do kind of have a past. Like, we did kind of grow up together, but, you know, it's not
Yeah,
gonna
there's that
happen.
creepy scene where he shows up with a picture of them naked together in a tub, and he's like,
Right.
we've been naked
We've been
together.
naked.
And it's like, this guy, I would call the cops on this.
So
But
inappropriate.
It's one of those weird sort of script writing run 101 save the cat things of for your main character of the movie, which it's essentially Sean Astin on paper.
Yeah.
You have him do something heroic or
Yeah.
like you show him being a nice guy.
Yeah.
We never really see
Yeah.
that at all.
No, we don't. And I think I know where you're getting at with the high school, because in my notes I wrote, is it like super easy to get kids enrolled in high school?
I mean, I guess a public school, all you have to do is give him a dog license and he's in.
Apparently.
No birth certificate or social security card.
Movies do that all the time, though, where they're like, we'll just enroll you. And I'm like, what do you mean we will just enroll
Yeah.
you? Like, don't you need a parent? Like, what's happening?
At least Josie Geller and Never Been Kissed had like a whole team at the newspaper to forge
Yeah.
documents for her.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes, agreed.
But this guy was just like, here are my dog's vaccination shots. This guy's from Estonia.
I mean, this is also one of those movie schools that the students just overrun the place. This
There
yeah.
are no, there are two
there's-
teachers.
There's only two teachers in this
There's-
entire school.
the driver's ed teacher and somebody in a white lab coat, and that's all. Oh, but we also get the
dad from Scary
the
Movie.
dad from Scary Movie.
The dad from, the guy from The Burbs,
The
one of my
Burbs.
favorite movies. of all time.
Exactly. R.I.P.
We have
died
that
this
we have that
year.
clip because it's my
He
favorite.
died.
So
It's my
sad.
favorite line of Robin Tunney.
It's really good. This is great.
So, moving right along on your journey of knowledge here, let me show you Cro-Magnon Man, ladies and gentlemen, right there.
He's dope. I'd go out with him.
I don't think so, Ella. You see, Cro-Magnon Man, even though he's not bad looking, you know, he's standing upright and all, he was extremely brutal. So he just took whatever he wanted, and that included his women.
That's barbaric.
Indeed.
I love the woos when he takes down.
The teacher might have been a
poster.
little inappropriate.
He got right up in her face when she
Real
was
close.
like, ooh, like,
I want to fuck.
and then he was just like, oh yeah, he'd like.
He club you over the
Club
head.
you over
and
the head,
Drag
yeah.
you back to his cave.
He takes what he wants. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Hold on. We have to go back real quick to
Sure.
the bath.
Yes,
I know we already passed
please.
it,
Uh-huh.
but they use like a bunch of toxic cleaning products in his bath.
They're feeding
Did
him.
anyone else
They're
notice that?
feeding him Tide Pods. They're like, it's crazy.
I wanted to just.
They-
It made me nervous just watching Brendan in that bath when his eyes were poking above the bottles. And I'm just like, Brendan, do not get that in your eyes.
yeah.
Don't get that in your eye.
Don't
There's
get that on your face.
They're like pouring ammonia into this bath. They're like making mustard gas essentially, like in the bathtub with them.
Exactly.
I want to mention that when they bring him out of the bathtub and they give him like his hideous haircut.
So
yeah, that was bad.
So
that was
I'm pretty
unfortunate.
sure that's not a wig. I think that's Brendan's hair because he did have long hair at this time. So it's like I
Yeah.
think with some styling, you could get his hair like that.
And it's
I
that
preferred it before the cut.
yeah, I preferred it before the cut, but it's those Fra-zee like auburn locks. But where I'm going is, he sees the poster of like the booby lady in Dave's room, and he's just like all like, ugh, like boobies, And Dave, Sean Astin, goes over and he's like looking at the booby lady, and Sean Astin says Gonzagas.
That's the worst.
That's wrong. That's incorrect. He's like, is he talking about like Gonzaga State, like university,
Gonzaga,
like the college? Because later on, Brendan Fraser says Gazungas,
how it should be said,
which is the correct usage of.
I totally missed that.
Yeah, Sean Astin says Gonzagas. Nobody calls boobs Gonzagas. That is not a thing.
We were just watching Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, and I'm sure that's where that term originated.
Gazungas.
Gazungas is the preferred.
I just want one peek at those gazungas.
Well, they're also called cones in this movie.
Well, Pauly's whole
he has a whole like verbiage.
He has a whole
dictionary.
vocab. Yes, indeed. And cones, crazy.
Wheezing the juice. That's my favorite.
Let me just say this. No one should be wheezing the juice. This is unsanitary. I don't like
Especially in 2020.
Oh, my goodness.
Standards.
Yes.
We'll never wheeze the juice again.
Never. I am on board with the two gentlemen who work at this. Is it a 7-Eleven? Is it clear? Is it unclear?
It is.
One of them is from The Mummy.
There's a 7-Eleven sign.
One of them is from The Mummy. The other one is from The 40-Year-Old Virgin. This is a Brooklyn accent. And and I'm fully on board with them and their rules of no wheezing the juice because that's disgusting.
Yeah. I mean,
nobody should be doing
I
that.
would be doing the same thing if I ran that 7-Eleven.
I would kick them. There would be a photograph of Pauly Shore. Do not let this individual into my shop. Okay, so let's see. So Robin Tunney wants to bone zone Cro-Magnon Man. Let's see. Sean Astin says Gonzagas.
Oh, I was going to ask you, Ashley, if you've reached babehood. Because Pauly Shore says that to what's her name in the movie?
Yeah.
Babehood.
Have you reached babehood, Ashley?
I feel like, I don't know, because is babehood when you grow boobies? Or is babehood like when you grow out of your like braces and you lose your acne and your hair is not weird?
Well, if we ask
I think
Dave,
so. I think I reached it.
It's probably a combination of the two.
I think, you've reached babehood, definitely. I feel like if Dave has anything to say about it, babehood is definitely not grade school. He was not in
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she was garbage in grade school, apparently.
Indeed.
Also, I had some notes on the peripheral characters of this movie that like really like did not need to be there. Like the two hip hop dudes that were matching outfits.
Yeah.
What? And they were kind of like
happened? What was that?
Like kind of Latin.
Kind of.
And like their whole deal was just like
the one with the tag on his hat.
I was going to say, that's not to be confused with the two skateboard dudes that pop up several times in the movie as well.
Yes.
Movies that made us gay all-star.
Jack Noseworthy.
Mm-hmm. From the Brady Bunch movie.
From the Brady Bunch movie.
Is he the one that was in Idle Hands?
God, is he in Idle Hands? Well, he looks like Breckenmeyer, but he's not. He was in the superior film to all of these. Oh, God, now I can't think of it. Sam Neill horror movie on a spaceship.
Oh, Supernova?
No, the other one. The gross one.
Event Horizon.
Event Horizon.
Event Horizon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the same guy. Yeah. He's one of the skateboarders,
Yes,
and they basically are just there to be like, what did the new guy say?
Yeah.
And it's like, why?
There's a couple of like Greek chorus like teens throughout. There's the two skateboarders.
Rose McGowan is the female version of that.
Yeah, there's the two like horny girls. There's the two skateboarders.
Yeah, who are just like, who's that?
Which,
Who's the new
and also,
kid?
but I do appreciate, even though all of the main characters of this movie are white, I do appreciate it's a represented Los Angeles high school.
Hey, Short Round is there in the chess club. Yes, there's
Asian,
and he's not
African Americans.
Yeah, he's not like, it's not like PC. I mean, it is PC though. Like he's not, it's not a 16 Candles situation.
Yes. Yeah.
He's just a dude who happens to be Asian and small.
Sure.
He wants to recruit Link as a graphic designer because he's really good at all of his cave paintings.
I do love that little note, his cave paintings, and everybody is so obsessed with them. Back to Rose McGowan for one quick moment. When they first see him, and it's the first instance of us seeing Rose, she says, "He is so rude." But she means rude in a skateboarder, like rude dude, like rude dog kind of way. She didn't mean like he farted or anything. She just meant like rude, like they thought that was cool slang. But but I don't know that they were right.
That's the same scene where Link gets his first whiff of what's her toes? Robin.
Robin. Yeah. I
He
feel like
smells her from across the room, and he is honed in.
I feel like the Link, Robin, Dave love triangle was
It's
probably
a
bigger,
little
in the script.
unresolved.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's unresolved.
Something was probably cut.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this movie runs like a brisk 85 minutes.
Is it 85?
Yeah.
minutes?
I mean, it's short. I would imagine that was probably one of the subplots that they cut.
Yeah.
And I understand that she can't end up with him at the end because we get introduced to the cave woman at the end.
Yeah,
But yeah, there's definitely something missing there.
for sure.
Also, I mean, I just have to. Whenever I see young Robin Tunney, I am always just like taken aback by just how beautiful she is.
Gorgeous.
She's stunning.
How good she looks with hair.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she looks good
And
with hair,
without.
without
And
hair.
without, yeah.
She just has these beautiful, striking eyes.
She's a stunner.
She's got a great mouth.
Indeed. And I mean, shock me. Oh no, that's not her.
That's Gina.
That's Renee.
That's
Gina.
Renee.
So they enroll him in school,
Yes.
and they're hoping that he'll make them popular. But in reality, he starts to become popular, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
still just like the guys that he lives with.
Oh yeah, they're fully going to get left behind.
Link is like that foreign exchange student that goes to your high school that everybody is obsessed with.
that a
Ashley,
thing?
Ashley,
Yeah.
did you ever have
Is that a thing?
have foreign exchange students like that in your high school? Because we did.
We sure did.
Mhm.
Yeah, we had 2 of them.
So that's a very true cliche of just when somebody new and exotic goes to your high school.
Where were your foreign exchange students from, Ashley?
We had one who was from Japan and the other one who was from Germany.
Ooh.
And the guy who was from Germany was like 6'5", and he was like, I'm pretty sure he went on and was like almost an Olympic swimmer.
Oh,
like that's
wow.
what he was.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to say
So
ours,
he had a lot of fans.
Oh,
I want
I'm
to say
sure.
ours, we had one from Norway.
Oh my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Where was I? I had nothing.
It was always like
No
it
foreign
was always
exchange
my
students.
dream in high school to be a foreign exchange student and have that experience in another country.
Can you imagine?
I think that in my head it was like Australia.
Oh, of course it
where I
was.
would go to.
Of course
Because
it
learning a
was.
foreign language is just a lot of work.
Yeah, well, we also had, so I went to school, obviously, in Southern Illinois. That's where I'm from. And we had a girl show up, like my junior year or something like that. And she was from California, like nowhere, no idea where in California, but she was
Sure.
like automatically cool.
Oh, yeah.
Because she lived in California. It turns out she was trash, but
Well,
we
Like,
didn't know.
She was probably just from like Central California.
Anything other than like
Yeah.
SoCal and Bay Area, trash.
Yeah. Oh, she was she was total garbage. Like, no offense, I'm not that kind of person, but she was trash. And
Oh man.
but she was totally cool for like a whole semester and a half because it was like she's from
Oh
California.
yeah, for sure. Hollywood. I just
Hollywood.
go to Hocus
Hollywood.
Pocus. So going back to my thoughts that this was actually 93, but it's 92, makes a little bit more sense because the soundtrack is so pre-grunge.
Yes.
It's so hair metal centric, and I love it.
Yeah.
I was
It's
disappointed.
great.
I was disappointed though we did not get Walk the Dinosaur because just in
How-
my mind
how-
there
Everybody walk the
because in
dinosaur.
my
How
mind
was
there
Walk
is
the
just
Dinosaur not in
there's just
this
a
movie?
montage of Walk the Dinosaur when they're walking around the high school.
How is Walk the Dinosaur not? I thought it was going to be. There's a point where he dances. I thought it was going to
Yeah.
be at the dance.
Joe has a lot to say about that.
Yeah, I'm. Oh, God.
It began the whole like choreographed dance
Craze.
craze at high school proms.
Jesus.
Later seen that she's all that.
I also think so. It wasn't just the soundtrack, but sometimes they would just. It wasn't like a song that they played, but it would be like a transition to a new scene. Like for
Yeah.
one big one is like is when Link jumps in the student driver car, and it's just like it's just like a weird guitar where it's like okay.
Totally. Oh my God. Okay, so my first thought actually, in retrospect, it's not my first thought, but my first major inclination that Dave is in fact the villain of this movie is at the ice skating rink. You know, Link is playing the video game and he's all into it.
Yes.
And he sees, or he kind of hears this kerfuffle going on, and he turns and he sees his buddy's bro, Dave, getting into it with gross Mike, whatever, I forgot, Matt.
Which, to kind of, I mean, Matt is kind of in the right. It's just because this guy is being very forward, even though Matt is kind of a trash person.
Yeah.
This guy is being very forward with your
True.
girlfriend.
I mean,
too.
regardless of all that, Link steps up because he's a caveman. He's like a pack, you know, he's a pack animal still at this point. So he's like, this is my cave. These are my dudes. I'm going to protect them. Ice is weird, but still. And gets socked in the face and is just like, what the shit? And Dave is fully like, no, dude, go fight him. Like, go fight him right now. Go beat him up.
Yeah. He said something like, what's the point of having him if he's not going to fight back and like make us look cool? And it was like,
clearly.
I knew it early on because of the
grossness.
Mike being a woman and like hearing him talk about Robin Sweeney and how she's his. I immediately was like, oh no, this guy sucks. Like, he's a villain.
You stay away from him.
You're right. That's like sort of the moment where you're like, is this guy cool?
Yeah. And
or does he suck?
Yeah. And as the audience, we're still supposed to be on Dave's side. And it's not until later on in the movie when we have our Harry and the Hendersons moment, which we'll get to. But right here, I was just like, no, he just got hit in the face. He doesn't know what's going on. He's very much like,
and it's when kind of Pauly Shore's character like steps up to the plate and like defends him.
Yeah.
That he kind of sees that from where he comes from, you're just surviving, and why would you even get in a fight with like your fellow caveman? Like you have other things to worry about, like being
you
warm
guys are kinda on the same team.
or finding food.
Yeah.
So this is just like something new for him that he's never experienced.
Which leads us to when they're at the tar pits and Link has his like freak out moment.
Yeah, when they're at the museum.
Yeah. And
Poor guy.
Yeah, it was so sad. And Stoney is the one that like goes up to him and like comforts him. And Dave is fully like in the deep background, like hiding.
Yeah.
And Stoney is the one that's just like, he's going through it right now. He's having a moment. We need to like be there for
Dave's
him.
probably embarrassed.
Well, and Dave just has like masculinity issues that he can't go and comfort his friend because he's another dude too.
Yeah.
I guess. Even though when he was trying to like teach him his name, he was like right in his crotch.
Yeah.
Like I had some
Very
thoughts.
true.
I had some thoughts about that blocking, but that'll be for the Instagram.
Link goes to the La Brea tar pits and he sees the cavemen and like he has like an emotional response. He gets really worked up. He gets really sad because like he had family and now they're gone. And of course Dave is just like, guys, get out of there.
Yeah.
You're embarrassing me.
And it's so like telling because even the dialogue, like Stoney's just like, he knows, dude. Like he knows. Like he gets it. He knows where he is.
Yeah. And Dave doesn't care.
Yeah, Dave does not care.
We get to go to the scene at the bar.
Oh my God, this bar.
I mean, this is a pretty like hopping bar for probably like a Wednesday afternoon.
Why?
Okay, first of all, this bar is filled with Rastafarians and cholos.
Yes, and like there's some political correctness issues with especially with the three Mexican American guys.
Well,
like that was like,
okay. But let me tell you this. I was worried. I was like questioning what is going on with the three cholos and this whole like tequila conversation at this Rastafarian bar in the middle of the valley, ? But as the credits are rolling, I see that Culture Clash is credited. And it got the wheels turning in my head. Culture Clash in the 90s was an all Latin kind of performance comedy troupe. Okay. And that was them. Those three in that conversation with the tequila and where's the worm and she's my girl and all that.
Right.
That was
it's a shame that comedy group wasn't funny.
Exactly. Yes. That was a cameo by
that would have been a giveaway.
Yeah. By a kind of like socio-political, performance comedy quotation marks.
Like it would have made more sense with a better script.
Yes.
Probably.
And the thing about Culture Clash is that I think they may have had some kind of a televised sketch comedy program, possibly on the UPN. Did not last very long because nobody wanted to watch like Latinos being funny in the 90s. But they were it was a thing and it was on purpose. And watching it now with no context, it's very much like, what the shit is this? What is happening? But it was a
for
thing.
the time. It was a cool little cameo that they made. Yeah. I had written down a couple notes in the bar. The PC issues. Also, what Scott said. This was a full bar in the middle of the day. On like a Tuesday.
They drove there from class. So it's clearly
they drove there from class.
2 in the afternoon.
Hijacked a driver's ed car.
Yeah. So it's like 2 in the afternoon. Packed.
Drove it on its side.
Yes.
Yeah.
2-wheel.
And there's a conga line that breaks out, which I believe, I guess it's just to show that like Link is so charismatic that he gets the entire bar dancing. But it is just so out of left field.
Yeah.
For any movie.
No, it's the entire scene. It kind of stops the movie dead in its tracks, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it does.
It kind of,
And I almost feel like this is when, is it Megan
Robin?
Ward?
Robin, yeah.
Robin's character starts to fall for Link. And I feel like we kind of missed some interactions that you saw that more.
Well, yeah, because later on when she's like...
When she wants to take him to prom?
I want to go to the prom with Link. And I'm just like, you have not spoken 5 words of English with this person.
Like, there
well,
should have...
I think that's that's the only thing that this scene does is to show, like, Link is fun.
Yeah.
Link makes people dance. Link makes people have fun. And that's what she wants for prom. Like, that's all she does say earlier in the movie, like, she wants to have fun. Like, that's her main thing.
Yeah.
So that's all this scene was for, but it is fucking weird.
So weird.
Like, it would have landed better with just, like, a tighter script and dialogue.
Yeah.
I get what they're going for, though.
Why couldn't it have happened, like, after class? Or, like, I don't know. There's just something about it that was like, what is happening?
He could have started some, like, lunchroom, like...
Food fight,
conga line, what have you. But it could have served the same purpose. But or
they could have just ended up at the bar after school, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They're
like,
out on a joyride in the valley and they end up there.
But the biggest thing that comes from this is that, the bar gets raided, Robin makes her way home, but Dave gets arrested.
Dave and Link, they get arrested.
When Dave uses one phone call to call Robin, and this is where she says, I actually want to go to the prom with Link. Okay, that's a bummer, whatever. But this is the biggest Dave is the villain moment of the movie because he's like, oh, okay, Robin wants to go to the prom with Link. Well, guess what, Link? Fuck you, bitch. You are now homeless.
We're driving out to Paso Robles and I'm kicking you out of the car.
That's the thing is that, like, so... At first, like he uses his one phone call in jail specifically to ask her to prom. And she literally is like, I want to go with Link. And can you ask Link if he'll go with me? Which is like super cruel. But at this point, like, I don't care because Dave sucks.
Yeah.
And it literally cuts to like the next scene where he's driving him to the middle of nowhere and planning to just leave him.
Some meadow out.
We don't like you anymore. Go. Go back where you came from.
I even put in my notes what you said earlier. It's like Harry and the Henderson style. Like he's like, get out of here, go. And the thing is Link has no ID, no social security number, no money.
I mean, those are the 3 bullet points I put.
Link could survive in the wilderness, but can he survive in like 1992 though?
Yeah, he's literally taking
Yeah.
him out there to like die.
Said no money, no grasp of the English language, and no ID.
Yeah,
Just because some girl likes him better. Dave is the villain of this movie.
he's the villain for sure.
But when Stoney finds out that this is all happening, he's like, no, fuck you. Fully gets into like a physical confrontation with Dave. And what happens? Who breaks it up? Link, because he loves them. That's
Link.
his pack.
And then they do that scene where they're very physically close and
Oh
they're
my
kissing
goodness.
each other.
Yes.
Yeah, very sweet.
Yes.
Actually,
Indeed. That's his pack.
it's a
man.
physical.
Yeah.
It is a physical closeness that we didn't get to see a lot of men do
Yeah,
in movies,
for sure.
especially teenage movies.
Yeah.
Like we don't get that.
Yeah.
Speaking of the pact, I did notice that Link has a connection with the family dog, and that made me think.
Yeah.
I was like, well, who first like domesticated
Domesticated dogs, yeah.
were cavemen doing it with wolves because the wolves had to get close to the fire, and
Yeah.
that's sort of just
Oh, yeah.
how they got. That's just how it's kind of the evolutionary track of dogs.
So for Link, like this big old golden retriever is just like a dumb little teeny dog to him. It's like, just like, look at this tiny thing.
It's like a dumb little teeny wolf.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Link loves them though. And he says family, like the few words that he has, he was like family. Like that's how he got him to stop fighting. He's like family.
And you can tell that he feels bad that they got into this fight because of him.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
It's very sweet.
On the one hand, Dave should not, by any means, have tried to unleash Link into, this meadow on his own.
No.
But on the other hand, I don't know that he should have let him go to the prom with Robin either.
Yeah, because you still don't know
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a cave person.
what his
Yeah.
restraint is like.
I mean, he could just be whacking her over the head in the middle of the dance floor and dragging her out by her hair.
Exactly. Prom night, here's the thing.
my
There's a lot of scenes that take place during like the prom
This
night
is the most
situation.
lax, like,
Woo!
streetwear prom night I've ever seen. There was definitely not somebody at the door checking of what they were wearing.
No. And first, like, before we even get to prom, so, like, Dave, like, Robin is very sweet. And she's like, let's all go together. Like, I don't necessarily want to go as a date with him. Like, let's go as a group. I
But
just
at
wanted to, like,
least
be
come.
around him.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'm staying home, which is like, fine, stay fucking home,
Yeah.
you loser. But then Matt comes to break into Dave's room to find proof.
Oh my goodness.
Well, he doesn't know anything yet.
Yeah.
He tries to find dirt on this on Link, and so I don't really think it's plausible that Matt would find. He found photos of the ice and something in the ice. You can't tell what's in the
You can't
ice.
even tell what's in
And
the
it's
ice.
one of those things that your mind just went to exactly what happened in the movie. Like, you're connecting a lot of dots.
But it's like, how plausible would it be that he would find the photos of the ice and stuff, and one, believe that he was a caveman,
Yeah.
and two, think that anyone else would believe he's a caveman? Because that's his plan. Like, I'm gonna out him
just because it's
as a
written.
caveman.
Just because it's written on the Polaroid, Link in ice.
Yeah,
Like
you're
that's it.
setting
That's
yourself
your
up.
proof.
Yeah, and also Dave keeps saying that he doesn't want Link taken away and like dissected, but I said to people when we were watching it, like, where's the proof? It's just like, how are you going to prove he's a caveman?
Yeah, like
It's just like, that's just a dude without
He
like,
looks like a fine specimen of a
Yeah.
human man.
and if you like
to
look
me.
into it, he just doesn't have an ID.
If anything, he's an illegal alien, like you said.
yeah. I guess you could take his blood, and I guess his DNA would probably show that he hasn't evolved or something. I don't know how that works. That's science, and I'm not a scientist.
And
Oh, I'm
I
not a
love that
scientist.
there's no conversation of, oh, well, should we contact the Natural Museum of History when they first find him? Because, I mean, like,
No.
regardless, they could be just famous teenagers for finding this caveman in their like, half-dug pool. It's just like, I mean,
think
there is fame
yeah.
for that, but they don't even go, like, that direction.
It seemed like they wanted to show their friends first.
Yes, yeah. He wanted to use Link to his advantage, which was
From the get-go,
Yeah.
before he was even a living, breathing caveman person.
from the jump. He was like, ice, man in the ice, I'm going to get Robin. Full actual person with like human feelings, Robin.
I was telling Pete that I'm shocked that Saved by the Bell didn't get the storyline before Encino Man. Like, this is straight up an episode of Saved by the Bell. That, like, Zach and Screech find
If they didn't find
a frozen caveman.
If they didn't find a frozen caveman, then they tried to pass Screech off as a frozen caveman. There's several storylines we could have gotten out of Saved by the Bell for this. So Matt fully, like you said, attempts to outlink at the prom. And he's like, and he's a caveman. And everybody's just like, woo! We love it! Caveman! We love caveman!
So
we love Ling.
So, Ashley, do you know who's, kind of a side note on this actor, do you know whose father this actor is?
Oh, yes.
Who, Matt?
Matt, yeah.
Dom
No.
DeLuise.
So, yes.
What?
That's Dom DeLuise's kid.
Yes. So Matt is played by I believe Mike DeLuise of the DeLuise acting dynasty.
Wow.
Yes.
Dynasty.
He is, well, that's the thing. Dom DeLuise had 3 sons. They're all actors.
Yeah.
They're
like
They're
the
like
Baldwins.
the Sheens.
They're like the Sheens. They're like the Baldwins. But the thing about the DeLuises is that they all act together. So
better.
They have all been on the original incarnation of 21 Jump Street.
Right.
They have all been on, I think Stargate or like one of those weird,
One of those syndicated sci-fi
one of those
shows.
weird syndicated sci-fi shows. So they all at one point had a thing on the sci-fi, I believe it was Stargate, and then the youngest one was the dad on Wizards of Waverly Place with Selena Gomez.
That's amazing.
But this one is But this one is the middle DeLuise brother.
He hasn't acted since Bunheads.
Well, here's the thing. I actually liked him in this.
I
I thought he was a believable jerk, and I thought he was funny in the parts where you're supposed to be funny. That one part where it's a GIF now. I've seen it a million times where Dave is waving at Robin in class and Matt's head just comes in the frame.
Yeah, that is
and slowly shakes his head. It's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was really good.
I'm always
funny.
a sucker for the handsome popular jerk in an 80s movie too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also early on in the movie when Stoney is kind of explaining why Robin is with him, he's just kind of saying he's got a cool motorcycle, he's kind of hot, he's going through he's got hair in his head. The weird Paulyisms are just out of control. But yeah. So
I would say the only time that he lost me, Matt, is when he dropped the F word.
Yes, indeed.
But that said, we're not supposed to like him. He is the villain of the movie, too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Is he? Because Dave's the villain of the movie.
Truly, Dave is the real villain of the movie.
This is true.
So he outs Link. Nobody gives a shit. Everybody's just like, woo, caveman. And they all go back to Dave's house and they have a pool party in Dave's disgusting, unfinished standing water dirt pool.
Yeah.
I mean,
So gross.
that might fly in a rural South town.
The swimming hole.
The swimming hole.
That is a
But
breeding ground. That's a breeding ground for
gross.
mosquitoes. That has got E. coli written all over it.
No, it's a disaster. I also had a question. So, right after Matt outs Link at prom and everyone cheers or whatever, Link picks him up and does wrestling moves, blah blah blah, blah. And then he throws him into the prom cake.
Yes.
Which I don't believe exists outside of movies.
prom
every
cake.
movie has a prom cake.
Yeah.
I don't think that my prom had a prom cake.
I didn't have a prom cake.
And I barely remember my senior prom.
We had punch and cookies,
Yeah.
but we didn't have a prom
You don't
cake.
remember it because you're all full of cake.
No, that's
think
true.
so.
Maybe it was all the sugar.
I don't think prom cake is a thing. I wish it was a thing.
I do have to
I
say,
literally just wrote prom cake in all caps with
Prom
several
cake.
It
question
was
marks.
a sheet cake that covered an entire 6-foot folding.
It was a
table.
large cake.
It was a
yes.
huge cake.
if anybody is listening that graduated Fergus High, class of 04,
Did you have a prom cake?
If we had a prom cake, please write in. I would love to know.
I don't think prom cake exists.
And this is like one of the things that you always see in movies, and then I think of my experience with prom that I'm just like, prom was so fucking underwhelming. I'm just like, I hardly remember it. Like, it's like, as the years go on, it escapes my memory even more.
It has blended with every other school dance that I had.
I want to say that, like, homecoming were always,
like,
the funner dances because everyone could go.
Yeah, it wasn't just seniors or just juniors. I did have to say, so at prom, they do break into a choreographed dance.
Yes, they do.
And
this is where Walk the Dinosaur should have played.
Yes, it should have. Joe actually had a really big problem with the choreographed dance. So when we first watched this, we watched this like a month ago because I brought it up on my show.
Yeah.
And he said that it took him out of the movie and that it was just unrealistic, which made me laugh so hard because that's
your problem with the
movie unrealistic was the choreographed dance at prom. I was like, not the caveman, not the wrestling.
Oh my God.
No, it was the dance. He didn't like it.
That's
also, I am legitimately furious that Dave gets a kiss from Robin at the end of the movie.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean,
I kind of wonder why Dave just ended up being the unofficial villain of the movie. Is it just one of those things that, like, Sean Astin just wasn't that vocal of, here, I have some notes of just, like, my character and where the scene is going, and it's just sort of became the Pauly Shore show at the end of it, and then he just didn't really have a lot of say in it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to say that a lot of movies of that era, if you go back and watch it, like the guy you're supposed to be rooting for, you're like, is he a creep?
Yeah, for sure.
He might be a creep, actually. Yeah. Now that I think about it.
That's definitely what I think of when I think of Some Kind of Wonderful. Well, everyone just seems like trash people.
But on the other side of that coin, you know, when we watch My So-Called Life,
Angela just seems like a complete fucking asshole.
Angela
on that show.
Is not doing herself any favors.
She sold those Grateful Dead tickets.
Yeah. She is so selfish that entire show. Angela Chase is the villain of My So-Called Life. Sorry about it. Yeah. But, okay. All this nonsense is happening in their gross, like, you know, mosquito-ridden, you know, swimming
garbage
pool. And
I just wanted to see skeletons pop out of it.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Is there another earthquake?
You moved the headstones,
but you didn't move the bodies.
There's an earthquake. There's an earthquake, but it happens when Link and or when Dave and Pauly Shore's character leave for prom.
Sure. And this
you see a quick little earthquake happen.
And this unleashes, you know, Link's
cave nug.
It does make me really happy when Link jumps in the bathtub and how happy both of them are.
Yeah.
But who filled that tub?
How did she know how to draw herself a bath?
I can't believe
with the bubbles.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right.
That was my
with
biggest
bubbles.
thing.
Who did that?
She drew this fabulous bath full of bubbles. Nonsense.
She's never had a bath in her life.
You know, this movie grossed $40 million, so a pretty decent hit. Like a pretty decent sleeper. How was there not a sequel of Encino Woman?
Sure.
You could cast
it does seem like they're setting it up.
You could cast like Bridget Wilson Sampras
as the
Encino Woman.
But like, what would be, you know, how would it be different from Encino Man?
Yeah, it would just be a clone.
Yeah, it'd be pretty repetitive. I would think.
Well, okay, so the whole time I mean, the thing is, we've seen this movie a million times, but now it's like when you watch it, or you're just like, what's gonna happen to Link? Like, now he's just this man out of time. Like, he's just gonna have to assimilate,
and he doesn't have like a real education. He had like a week of high school.
Do you almost think that like Link is gonna discover something like skateboarding and just become a professional skateboarder for the later half of the 90s?
It's actually a good idea.
There you go.
That's kind of where I think
maybe
Link's like path is.
Okay.
I mean, he's going to enroll in the where does Carla Gugino go to in Son-in-Law? It's like
It's somewhere in California.
USC
It's like,
or
oh,
something.
Venice.
Venice. Or, well, it's probably UCLA. If
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
if
because
they go to Venice.
they I know that there's a scene like on Venice
Yeah.
Beach.
Yeah.
But it's like, I guess that he goes, he somehow gets a scholarship to go to UCLA, and then he gets
True.
discovered, and he becomes a pro skateboarder.
Okay, I like
That's
it.
And then,
good-
and then
that's
he
a good-
like retires.
Second
and
half
like
of his life.
he retires in like Chino Hills or something.
Dream big.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I can see that. Him and his cave woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because I was getting kind of sad towards the end. You're like, what's going to happen to Link? But you're like, oh, yeah, he's like his cave wife.
I'm kind of surprised that they didn't work in skateboarding somewhere in the movie more.
And I wonder if it's just because Brendan Fraser is so tall and
Yes.
finding a skateboarder to do the skateboarding
Yeah.
that is his height and looks like him would have been
Yeah.
impossible.
I was thinking about that during the like tumbling stuff.
Yeah, where he like flips off
Yeah.
the balcony.
I was like, oh, they probably had to get like a really tall like gymnast.
I would like to have some
Stunt
final
man.
thoughts just about the career of Brendan Fraser too.
Well, I mean, I barely talked about how much of an angel face
yes,
Brendan Fraser
so
is in
handsome.
this
Those
movie.
those like beautiful
That's the thing
eyes.
is like he didn't have his Georgia the Jungle body yet,
Yeah.
but he was still a
yeah,
snack.
that's the thing is
I
that
was
like
there.
when you remember this movie, you remember him being a little more shredded. But then when you
Yeah.
see him in the opening scenes, you're just like, oh yeah, he just looks like a tall, skinny guy.
I don't know. He's pretty.
Yeah,
short.
and like a caveman probably wouldn't have been shredded.
Yeah,
like Georgia the Jungle is. I
Sure,
mean,
yeah.
he would have been,
that like 2%
Muscular,
body
but-
fat. Yeah.
yeah.
So we went to a wedding a year and a half ago, and there was a jar of, are you a Brendan Fraser stan or a Bill Paxton stan? Put a penny in the jar.
Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser.
I feel like I put a penny in Bill Paxton because my love of Titanic kind of sent it over the edge. But now I'm kind of having some regrets that I didn't put in a penny for Brendan.
Brendan, I love Brendan Fraser. I always have. In everything, really. I mean, you guys just watched Blast from the Past
Yes,
recently.
indeed.
didn't you?
We watched Blast from the Past, which I think that movie is so fucking charming when you go back and
I need
revisit
to
it.
rewatch
It's so
it
good.
because
It's on
I haven't.
HBO Max right now. Listeners, if you
Okay.
have HBO Max, watch Blast from the Past. Alicia
Blast from the
Silverstone's
Past, The Mummy,
Yeah.
Encino Man.
I was gonna say,
Bedazzled.
Alicia
Bedazzled,
Silverstone's
so cute.
curls and Blast from the Past are out of control.
Yes,
I love Bedazzled. We need to do Bedazzled because that's some like the devil is just Liz Hurley. Like that's some fucking
Yeah,
gay shit
she's
right
hot.
there.
Yeah, I mean, he's serving face, man. Get out
Yeah.
of here.
So was School Ties after this where you see
No,
his butt?
Yeah.
Was
Were
it
you-
after this?
I think
It was a
after.
year after this, I
Wow.
think.
Where you see his butt in the locker room?
Wow,
hmm
that's amazing.
I don't want to like bring it down, but like, didn't
Yeah.
Brendan Fraser say that like the reason he doesn't act anymore is because he kind of got sexually assaulted?
He got
Yeah.
sexually assaulted by one of the big heads of the
producer.
Hollywood Foreign Press.
Yeah.
At like
I was
some
going to
event.
say it was at like a CAA party or some
Yeah.
bullshit.
So he was like groped, and he says, and I totally believe it, that just like the Hollywood Foreign Press just managed to just like badmouth Brendan Fraser to just a majority of casting in the industry. And that,
So
and
sad.
then kind of when that happened, he talked about going into like a big depression of just sort of,
Gaining weight.
yeah. I mean, it's also a reminder of just like sexual assault, and it can happen to guys too in Hollywood. It's not talked about a lot because it's kind of
Hashtag
taboo.
me too.
Yeah.
Like, and I
Well,
think
that's the thing too, is that like, and Joe and I talk about that a lot because a bunch of young girls just came out against Chris D'Elia, the comedian.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's, another one bites the dust there.
Yeah.
And there's so many people on Twitter like saying that they're just doing it for fame, which like, first of all, like, no, that's
No.
no one gets famous. The only like person of note, like name person who wasn't famous already was Monica Lewinsky.
Yeah.
And like her life was literally ruined.
Oh my god. And these girls,
but
these girls that are accusing Chris D'Elia, they all have receipts. Yeah. This is
And
like,
also-
this is not a question. This is
Screenshots.
like, here it is. I
and
was
also,
17.
Baby Driver.
Ansel Elgort. He's
Yeah.
another one.
Oh yeah,
We'll see.
Angela Angor.
And I'm
Oof.
curious of how that's going to play out when West Side Story opens in December. Is Spielberg just going to have all of that buried? Just like when you're the lead of a Spielberg musical, like what's going to happen with that?
I know, that's hard
Spielberg's
because,
power going to just like bury all of
Squash it.
that?
Yeah.
Well, that's like The Stand. Stephen King's The Stand miniseries is coming out, and what's her toes that was married to Johnny Depp is in it. She's one of the leads.
Amber Heard.
Amber Heard.
Yeah, Amber Heard, and she's sort of, she's been canceled.
Yeah.
So it's like, man, what do you do if you're like if you're like releasing this thing and like one of your main actors
Yeah.
has just been discovered to be a real piece of shit?
Yikes.
But yeah, what I was saying is like when straight men come out and say
Yeah.
that they were sexually assaulted by men, that's like an automatic, like there's no reason that they would exaggerate this,
Yeah.
that they
Yeah.
would make this up.
Yep.
Because that's not going to get them any clout of any kind.
Yeah,
it's going to get them
exactly.
ridicule,
Yep.
or you know what I mean.
Yep, for sure.
So
To
I
kind
feel
of
bad.
well, then to kind of bring things up, I feel like Brendan's next phase of his career, I think he's kind of embracing being a character actor because he's done a lot of TV. He did The Affair on Showtime. He did Trust with Hilary Swank. And his version of the character that Mark Wahlberg played is so much more better. It's so much better than Mark Wahlberg's performance of the same character in All the Money in the World. And he is on a big DC show right now on HBO Max. So he's sort of coming back and embracing being a character actor. So I hope he gets more work.
I would love to see him in more stuff. Even if he no longer has a hot rod little bod.
I mean, yeah. And that angel
I mean,
face.
you can't always. I mean, I mean, realistically, you can't keep that up.
Time marches
too.
on.
Time
Hell no,
marches
you
on.
can't.
And it marches across your face.
You absolutely can. And the thing is like the hot rod little bod reeled me in,
Yeah.
but I got crazy for Fra-zee
Yes, indeed.
because he's such a sweet,
That sparkling
sweet boy.
personality
Yes.
is going to bring
Thank
us
you.
back.
Thank you. Oh, goodness. Should we try
Would you like me to grab Joe?
Go
Yes,
grab Joe.
indeed.
I feel like we
I
talk
think
about
Joe
Joe a lot
might
on
have
this
some
show.
things to-
We talk about Joe a lot on the show, and he's just an off-screen character.
Yeah. Joey is, he's my fiance, and he's on Keep It Weird with me very often.
Hello.
Hello.
There's Joe.
Hi, guys.
How's it going?
It's going. How are you going?
Good.
Thank you for letting me chime in with my 2 cents.
I was going to say, whenever we have Ashley on, you're always an off-screen character that we just talk about.
I'm like a groundskeeper Willie kind of level character.
Well,
Yeah.
we like
pops in once every 3 episodes, makes you laugh, pops out again.
There you go.
Well, we also
Yeah.
have just like our straight men that come on the show. That's just like our
Yes.
our commentary
Yes,
from like
indeed.
the other half of the sexual orientation, and it's always fun to hear
Yeah.
their take on stuff like this.
Ask a straight guy. I know that my opinion is in high demand these days. No, I'm like the first person. If anybody asks me my opinion, I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to share.
Sure.
So let's.
I know that trick.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk a little bit about the science behind Encino Man.
Yeah. Yeah, let's.
If there is any. I mean, shit. I find this
Oh, there-
movie to be
there's-
100% plausible.
I mean, it's pretty much a documentary as far as we're concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, it really is historical fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rooted in truth. Well, where do you want to start? I mean, I have a thought. It's not quite so much the science of could we freeze a Cro-Magnon man and
Sure.
just thaw him out and have him, come to high school the next day.
I mean, could we though?
But here's the question:
Sure.
could we? But what if? Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I will say this:
it's high concept.
yes, it is. It is high concept, and I even like the little exposition that you get, where it's like, oh, here are all the bored kids in their class learning about Cro-Magnon man. just like give you a little context while you watch this.
Yeah, for sure.
So one thing from a science perspective, and this is so beside the point, I probably shouldn't even bring it up, but I can't get over the fact that I'm supposed to believe that Sean Astin is going to put a pool in that backyard.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine if your parents, when you were 17 years old, that you're just like, I want to put in a pool in the backyard, and they're like, great, have fun.
With the damn shovel.
Great, go.
Here's a shovel, dig yourself a fucking pool.
Yeah, here's a $30 shovel from the hardware store. Go make a pool.
There are clearly boulders in this. There's
you're going to need a jackhammer at some point.
You're going to need a crew. You're going to need 3 guys who do this for a living. Do this.
To say nothing of hauling away all the dirt that he displaces.
Oh my God!
Come on,
I just like the idea where it's in ground or above ground, whether he's pouring cement or not.
Yeah,
he's gonna have to fortify that pool with something. I don't think he's got the expertise. And also, if his plan is to just pour water into the hole, that's not a pool, that's a puddle.
I mean, clearly this is what happens at the end of the movie.
Clearly,
so,
I mean, yeah,
they're just having fun in this 8-foot deep hole in his backyard.
There it is, but they're popular now, and now it's the place to be.
That was a plan from the jump. So I mean, he was successful.
Yeah.
I mean, from where I come from, in the Rocky Mountain states, having a pool was the unknowable dream.
Yeah.
No one had fucking pools where I come from.
Right. Yeah, no, I know. I remember what that was like. Yeah, you've got the friend whose family has the pool, and you're always begging him to come over and go swimming, but he wants to he wants to do something else because he's got a pool and he can just use it whenever he wants.
He's over it.
So you're like, come on, let's go swimming, and he's like, no, I kind of want to work on my CB radio today, and it's like, all right, well, we're gonna go swimming.
I just got Ninja Gaiden.
You have fun with the radio.
But in Encino, pools are a dime a dozen, man.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's a question for you before I forget. Again, anybody listening who doesn't live in LA, this is bad radio. This is a question I'm going to ask for Angelinos only.
I mean, we get very nitpicky on the show about Los Angeles geography too.
Yeah.
So,
good. Well, I'm on the right. I'm on the right.
Talking to the right guys
because that stuff drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, on that note, I've got 2 little bon mots I want to share with you. The first, more of a question. I don't think. Where the house is, the neighborhood, that looks more like Simi Valley, Porter Ranch.
So I was
than
wondering that
Encino.
because there's a big hill, and I was always under the impression that Encino is slap dab in the middle of the San Fernando Valley, right?
Yeah, it's got it's parts of it are extraordinarily bougie. They're very green and leafy, and everybody's got nice big yards and big houses. And then parts of it are kind of a little bit more like woodland hills.
Yeah.
A little more just kind of straight up valley. But still there's it looks kind of desert like. It's very dry, hilly, a lot of dead grass on hillsides. That's
it almost looks like
sure.
It almost looks like Chino Hills or out in that area.
It does. But anywhere you get that hilly, it starts to all look the same, especially down here. But yeah, for sure. The geography's a little all over the place, but whatever. That's
not everybody who watches that movie lives in LA.
Although it is a huge sticking point for the two.
Yeah.
For the two of us.
Here's one that I think you guys are both going to read. The parking lot, and it's one of those crappy little valley plazas. It's even got a shitty Yoshinoya in the background. And I was like, man, that plaza's peak valley.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. I could drive to 100 places right now that look exactly like that parking lot.
Yeah, because that's what we were talking about. When they do the driving test, and they just end up at that shitty bar. It's okay, they're just, who knows how long they're driving.
I mean, that looks like a honky-tonk in Sunland.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I wrote this down. It's El Norteño, and is
Yes.
the name of the bar. And I thought that place was fucking awesome. Can I curse on this?
Oh yeah, of course. And yeah,
Okay, all right, just making sure, because I'm dropping them already. I thought that bar was awesome. It's like a bunch of like really friendly, super welcoming Mexican dudes who just like want to do tequila shots with you.
yeah, and the dance floor is full of like Rastafarians.
Yeah, for some reason.
I mean, it's fucking lit for probably 3:00 on a Wednesday.
Yeah, that part was crazy. But I think the movie for the most part is like just kind of Rando Valley. I think Encino, I don't know, maybe it just has like a funny name. Who knows? Maybe
I feel like people outside of Los Angeles, whenever they hear the Valley, I feel like their mind goes to something very, very different
than what
from
it actually
the
is.
actual Valley is, too.
Yeah,
that is.
I mean,
sure.
mine used to. I grew up in Connecticut.
Yeah.
and you hear the phrase like Valley Girl, and when I heard
Sure.
like the Valley, it was like, oh, that's where the rich people live.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? But that's definitely a misconception for the most part.
But it's like Calabasas is sort of the Valley, but I don't even think of Calabasas as the Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, you like emerge from the valley into Calabasas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, the Angelino of
here.
the group, and
Yes,
I'm not
please.
from that part of the valley.
I mean, he's from
I'm from the other valley.
he's from the real LA.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely something that you see in the movies and like TV shows and all that stuff. But it's just this very like, I can imagine, especially if you're not from here, that it's just this kind of like amorphous idea of Los Angeles. And actually,
Right.
this movie outside of the United States is called California Man, because Encino
wonderful.
means nothing. to
Encino doesn't
people.
translate to a foreign
Yeah.
audience.
Encino.
Though, to be fair, I don't know if Encino translates to people in like 48 states.
True. Yeah, that's absolutely. Yeah, you're
I mean, I
absolutely
feel
right.
like you know of Encino just because of
this movie.
Encino Man.
Yeah.
That's how it was for me, at least. Yeah.
It probably should be California Man, and like,
Clever marketing, though.
yeah, true.
Yep.
Now, before I hopped on, I don't know how much Ashley got into my impressions of this movie, but I think that a few of my like kind of cliche Joe sticking points aside, this is an extraordinarily entertaining movie.
Yes. It goes down real easy, I think.
It really does. This movie is like the Miller High Life equivalent of movies. Like, is it good?
Give me a brisk 85-minute movie.
Yeah. It's under an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You know, and we get to watch Pauly Shore just choose scenery.
Yeah.
You know. He's such an interesting cat. He's such a unique guy. In hindsight, I feel like we got so tired of Pauly Shore so quickly that we forgot that there's this weird early Brando thing he's got where he just like he's just such a weird person normally that he just makes nothing but strong character choices.
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
like his characters are so lived in. They've got like little like tics and things that they do. It's just all of his characters, all of his one character. It's so well developed. He's so interesting.
Yeah. That's one of the things that in my revisit of this movie that I did get an odd appreciation for just his performance and how he carries this movie. Like, and there's unexpectedly like
really
moving moments with him and Link that I'm just like, good job, Pauly Shore.
Or like when Dave's being a real dick at the end of the movie and he just like totally like diplomatically puts him in his place. You know, he gives him the best friend equivalent of like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, man, this dude handles everything perfectly. This guy's an exemplary human being.
Yeah, I fully thought going into it that I was going to be like, oh man, this Pauly Shore character, this is going to get old real quick. And on the one hand, the whole like, you know, wheezing the juice and grindage and all that stuff is weird. Yeah. But then, yeah, like we're saying, on the other hand, he eventually does become this definite like emotional heart of the movie.
Absolutely, yeah.
And also, we have to remember, being like an audience from 1992, like we wouldn't have been very familiar. We wouldn't have been familiar with any of those catchphrases, so those just would have fucking slapped.
Yeah,
when you saw it in the theater in June of '92.
Yeah.
Yep. Wow, June of '92.
Yep.
That's insane.
So I was saying that this movie shot in December of '91 to February of '92, and they got this shit out in June.
That's fast. That is a fucking fast.
They booked those theaters, and they were going to make that
efficiency,
and they were going to make that release date.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really astonishing. And aside from the fact that it just like really leans into what it is in the time period, I don't think it's bad at all. Yeah. I think that there's a lot of like really goofy, corny stuff, but you can certainly do a lot worse going back in the canon of stuff from the early 90s.
And we were talking with Ashley of just how handsy they are with him.
With
just very
Link,
yes.
Yeah, they really are. They're kind of all over him. I first of all, I love the makeover sequence.
Yeah,
it's short. It's nice and short, but just the choice, like down to Right Said Fred, even though it's just super on the nose, it's like, come on, what other song are we gonna play?
Oh yeah,
it's 1992.
Yeah,
like it's a makeover. We're playing I'm Too Sexy. Those are the rules.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, neither one of us were too displeased at the handsiness that's going on with these three characters.
Because I remember being a kid and renting this, and I think I watched this with my dad because my dad did love him some Pauly Shore. Like my dad thought Pauly Shore was fucking hilarious.
That's great.
Like anything just like fucking landed with my dad.
Yeah,
like coming out of Pauly Shore's mouth. And yeah, I do remember just a fascination with Brendan Fraser and just how handsome he is.
I gotta say, like knowing the, I'd never thought of them that way.
Clearly,
and yeah, surprisingly. But at the same time, you know, having with the whole Ashley Brendan Fraser Instagram love fest that she started, I really was forced to look at it from a fresh perspective, and especially there's one shot during the makeover sequence. It's right before they cut his hair, but like right after they wash all the clay off of him.
Yep.
Where like I was like, God damn, Brendan Fraser is like kind of model good looking.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. He's got a pretty face.
Yeah, he really is.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It hit me like a sack of bricks.
Ashley did mention that you had some thoughts about this 6'3" Germanic Teutonic, specimen of a man passing for a, Cro-Magnon.
weren't cavemen kind of little? Isn't that the whole thing? Is that people were just a lot smaller back then?
Here's where they can kind of get away with it a little bit. Cro-Magnon and Neanderthal, like one of the big discernible differences between them was that Cro-Magnon was taller, leaner, more capable of being like nimble and traveling longer distances. Neanderthals were like short, squat, powerful. So okay, like 6'3" maybe a bit of a stretch, but he probably like. All right, I understand that like during Pangea, everything was kind of a mixed bag. We all kind of looked more similar, but Brendan Fraser is a straight up white dude, and I'm pretty sure there were no straight up white Cro-Magnons.
I mean, I saw Clan of the Cave Bear. We have
to do Clan of the Cave Bear on the show.
Daryl Hannah comes from that like Nordic, white lady tribe.
Yeah, she's from far, far north.
Yes, indeed. So
she's from the North Pole of prehistoric Pangea. Yeah.
So Cro-Magnon is this French somehow?
Cro-Magnon?
Well, am I making that on? Yeah. Am I making that up? Is it like filet mignon?
Isn't Leylux? What are those caves with the paintings? Leylux
in France?
Is that in France?
Oh,
right?
Oh man, you are testing me.
Yeah.
Now we're. I knew that once upon a time.
It's like the really famous horse
with
like
the big fat horse
with the big with the big stomach.
Yeah, big fat horse.
That's like Leylux caves in France.
Sure,
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And and
I mean, you're the one with like the anthropology degree, Joe.
The anthropology, not even. I was an anthropology minor. That's just become a big joke because it's like Joe's the anthropology guy, and it's like I took like 30 credits in this 15 years ago. I don't know if I'm qualified to talk about this.
It counts.
Yeah, sure.
You
Okay.
showed up.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, hey, while we're on the subject of my old State University anthropology minor,
yes.
Speaking of schooling, one thing that stood out to me because I'm a crazy person is how right before the driving school, how he's to the main girl whose name escapes me. The teacher's like, "You again," and she's like, "I just can't get that parallel parking thing." And he gets like really stern with her.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, "Parallel parking is not a thing." I thought that as a driving instructor in Los Angeles, I thought he had every right to be stern with that teenager's underestimation of the importance of parallel parking.
I mean, it's true. I didn't properly learn how to parallel park until I moved to LA.
Yeah.
I think.
Because you never had to, because there was always parking in a parking lot everywhere you went,
or at least like you could just drive in.
Your parking spot proximity to your home like lives and dies by your ability to parallel park in LA.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
do you have the stones and do you have the chops to pull this off?
I'm not a great driver, but I am a really good parallel parker.
I can attest to this.
That's a really important skill. I would say that's probably more important that girl knows how to parallel park than anything about
Agreed.
A
I mean, if she's going to be shopping on Melrose Avenue, she's going to have to learn how to parallel park.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to go to the good stores, you're going to have to learn how to do this stuff.
We're going to Melrose.
We're going to Melrose.
Because I can attest that all the cool shops on Melrose, all the neighborhood street parking taken, if not permit only. So
and you're probably going to have to do a couple loops and catch somebody pulling out.
Oh my god!
I mean, still to this day, when the bars were open, going to West Hollywood, I mean, it was just like the street spots,
luck of the draw,
were just like
roll of the dice,
and if you could find one, you better fucking know how to parallel park.
You better know how to parallel park. Hey, so I have a question for you guys because I have a lot of like really random thoughts on Encino Man, and they're all kind of scattered like chronologically throughout the movie. So I'm happy to just like hang back and play tambourine and answer questions you guys have, or I can volunteer some stuff. How do you want me to do this? I've never been on your show before.
You can hit us with any questions
because I love it.
We've kind of gone through like the timeline of the movie. So at this point now we're just reminiscing.
Okay. All right. Well, how about this? I'm gonna take you on an Encino Man style retrospective from the beginning of the movie to the end.
Love it.
Like things that struck me. Okay. So right off the bat, Stoney's worn pink mesh shirt over the white tank top is fucking killer.
Oh my god.
I mean,
it is.
Pauly has a pretty slim frame, so we can pull it off. I appreciate that he has a shirt underneath because I feel like, just like a regular dude just would have worn no shirt, and you would just see the nips.
and they're most likely pierced nipples too.
Oh yeah, Pauly,
in that scenario, you know
that would have been pretty subversive for '92 though. Pierced nipples.
Okay, that's fair. Even that would have been super edgy for a high school kid.
And we talked about how Pauly Shore dresses like maybe not actually how they dressed in the late '60s or '70s, but how a high school how his mind thinks they might have dressed too.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's
a lot of mesh.
The mesh shirts are crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty outrageous. I think I was more overpowered by that style choice than I was impressed by it because it's just so bold that you kind of you have to at least step aside.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, where it's like, all right, young man, you march to the beat of that drum. Good for you.
I feel like for me in particular, I have memories of my older sister watching MTV and me watching it with her and seeing Pauly and just being like, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
And so it was
Yeah.
just like, I knew that this was his aesthetic, for better or for worse. That's what it is. So I just like my eyes glaze over when I see him. And so it's just this like
understand.
amorphous blob of bell bottoms and like
Yeah.
maybe like a feather boa thrown in there at some point, you know?
Sure.
So when I see like him in a mesh, a very loose mesh,
Very.
top, you know, it's not even just like something with like holes in it. It's like a crochet, like a very wide crocheted.
But it seems fitted though,
Yes.
too, which I appreciate.
Not loose in the fitting on him, but loose in like the loops.
Yes.
The loops are very wide open. You can see, just poke your finger right through the hole and just like touch his skin. There's no fabric.
No problem.
No, yeah. So to me, I'm just like, oh, that's Pauly. You know?
Yeah. Classic Pauly.
So I almost kind of forgot that he had a mesh shirt.
I mean, I also feel
Pink
like
mesh.
our generation just takes Pauly Shore for granted. I'd be curious
I'm
to
taking it
talk
for
to
granted.
like just like a 20-year-old of just like
Yeah.
show them Encino Man and Son-in-Law and just what are your impressions of Pauly Shore?
Yeah, with minimal knowledge at best of the early '90s in general, as a tone.
Yeah, for sure.
What is your impression of Pauly Shore?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was a very like heavy quotation marks here. That was like an extreme time.
Oh,
where, like
yeah.
commercials for products was like extreme. Like everything was like maxed out. So this broad. This like incredibly weird, like Pauly Shore was like the MTV VJ who had just started doing Too Many Drugs.
Oh yeah. Totally.
Except he was like a mega famous movie star for like 3 years.
A very brief.
Such
3
an
years.
such an interesting, yeah, very very interesting.
Yeah. I love that, like, the idea of a teen character or a young person dressing in this retro fashion was kind of
It was a little ahead of its time.
ahead of its time and not seen before. Like, there's no character in like Happy Days that's like
Yes.
dressing like the 30s.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, he's like wearing a zoot suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah,
what I
that
mean?
didn't happen.
Like,
yeah.
so like you're saying, if kids today were to see this, are they just like, what the fuck? Like, what is that? Is that 90s? Like, we don't get it.
Yeah.
Because also, and I mentioned it earlier, it's like there's no characters now, like on Riverdale, that are dressing like Mad 1999.
Right, that's true.
You know, just
Well,
because
here's
it's their
an interesting thing. I think the movie kind of earns the Pauly Shore kind of like 60s 70s nostalgia style, 70s more specifically.
Yeah.
Two different ways. One, there's the scene where he's like doing yoga, listening to his Walkman.
Yeah.
And he's listening to Frankenstein by the Edgar Winter Group.
Edgar
So he's like he's obviously an appreciator at the time. And
Yeah.
then later in the movie, he's wearing, when he's confronting Dave for being a dick, he's wearing a button-down shirt that's just like a photo print of the crowd at Woodstock.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I mean,
So he's obviously like an appreciator
Yeah.
of the era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big shout out to Edgar Winter.
yeah.
He doesn't get many of them.
No.
Yeah, Edgar Winter and his guitarist Rick Derringer. You know Rick Derringer? He did that song Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo.
Oh, I love Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So they,
That roll hoochie coo. That
one?
era, that's a very like Dazed and Confused era.
Yes.
But it also, to me, what I get when I listen to like Frankenstein and Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo and like that kind, is so much to me. I imagine like Homer Simpson in high school,
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
just like this
Yep.
burnout.
100,000%.
Pretty much my dad. Pete.
Yeah,
My dad.
Him in like the late
Yeah,
70s. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad and Homer J. Simpson
Yeah.
are both the class of 1975.
just laying on a beanbag chair with their headphones plugged into the record player.
Yep, you got the shag carpeting and the lava
man.
lamp.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
you're listening to the new Bachman Turner Overdrive record. Yeah.
Like in BTO, man. I love that. That's so great.
Yeah, okay, so I got another little style thing here for you. This is just a little one. Link walking into school wearing like thick, chunky cotton socks spilling out of Chuck Taylor's. That was a bold look.
Indeed. I feel like that couldn't have been comfortable.
Not at all.
Chuck Taylor's are so thin, and those socks were just very, like you said, very thick, very clunky. His wardrobe is definitely choices. Choices are being made. The fabric choices are just very specific, but probably uncomfortable. Like Scott mentioned as we were watching it, he's in a lot of turtlenecks.
Yes.
Right? Those white turtleneck like situations. Like, I feel like if he is actually a cave person or, Cro-Magnon, whatever.
He wouldn't want any clothes because he wouldn't like how they felt on his body.
Yeah, I know as a kid I did not like wearing pullover sweaters. I did not like a turtleneck, a mock turtleneck, anything that's just constricting on my neck. And I felt for Link wearing these constrictive clothes. Maybe that's why he had such baggy clothes. Because as a cave person, used to being so free
he
with
did
his body.
wear board shorts pretty much at the prom.
This is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Also, speaking of how he looked going to prom, his hair for prom is a legit coonskin cap.
Yeah. It is.
His side profile is like I had that Davy Crockett, Daniel Boone coonskin cap.
No,
when
for
I was
sure.
7 years
It
old.
is
I
like
had that.
it is so like it's very bouffant and it's like sitting on top of his head. If you saw his profile in shadow, it would look as if he's wearing a coonskin cap. You're absolutely right.
Was that Daniel Boone?
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
This movie is too much. Well,
Hey, I have a really quick question for you. And it's about the bully character, Matt.
Yes, Matt.
In your honest opinion, don't humor me for a laugh. I want
Sure.
your honest opinion on this. What do you think if we got to glimpse at the next 4 years of that character's life? Real bully, overcompensating. Calls Dave a fag.
Yeah.
Like that guy that all three of us went to high school with.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think the Las Vegas odds would be of that guy in college at least letting another guy suck his dick?
Pretty high.
Pretty high. To 1, right?
Yeah.
Like that guy will absolutely get drunk enough to let his guard down.
Oh yeah.
And,
He's at least
yeah.
I was gonna say
That's happening.
Or he's at least like taking up an offer from like an adult videographer of that I can give you $100 right here if you just take your clothes off on camera
and just jerk off.
and just jerk off.
Right now. just jerk off in the passenger seat of my Mazda.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely that kind of guy. Like at a party, he's like, I wouldn't have thought you were gay. Oh yeah, well, I don't know. Sure, thanks, I guess. And then just has way too many questions about it.
Yep,
like way too many questions.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, why?
And he's also taking notes.
Yeah,
totally. Huh, interesting. Okay,
I was mentioning
so you waited until you went to college to tell your parents. Interesting.
I was mentioning that like the bully from an '80s movie does kind of do it for me. And just a weird, like fucked up fantasy that you have.
Like Johnny from Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, let's be real. Zabka from
Billy Zabka.
Billy Zabka. Get out of here. There's a reason he was cast in all those movies with that blonde, floppy blonde hair. Come on.
Yep.
Love Zabka.
1,000%.
But yeah, I have a feeling that his character would probably be doing Randy Blue porn.
Oh shit! Just full, yeah. Oh man,
well said.
Well,
I was interested. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go for it.
I was just going to say I was surprised at how unlikable Sean Astin's character is.
Oh my god!
Oh, we get into it.
Movie,
we talked about that.
Review.
Yep.
Yeah, we fully decided.
Imagine.
We fully decided he's the villain of this movie. He is 100% the villain. Yeah, everybody's just trying to live their lives, and he's just in there for himself, just like fucking it up.
No, I never had the like selfish, I need to be popular component.
Yeah.
But I had definitely mastered that same uptight, like, I'm going to fuck this up with this really nice, cute, cool girl because I have no self-esteem thing.
Yeah.
That he did throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
So
that's one thing.
So
but
I can relate to that.
Yeah. But I never once was just like, even for one day, I just want to be like part of the cool crowd. My entire run at high school is just like, fuck those idiots. Those
people are terrible.
Yeah, they're awful.
Yeah.
I don't want to hang out with them.
Yeah,
yeah. But whatever. It's this kind of like fantasy of like coolness, I guess, that was just part of these like 90s, 80s, 90s high school movies. They got to fit in with the cool kids.
And everybody wants community of some kind.
Yeah.
Even the most even the most like seemingly lone wolf teenagers.
Yeah.
It's still they still long to belong to something.
Yeah.
But when you go ahead.
But what he didn't know was that he found this community with Link. That's his new pack.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah, you were a duo, now you're a trio.
Yeah. And that's what we were talking about earlier. Like to Link, that's his whole like tie to these two is like that's his new pack now. So he's like gonna protect them, and they're like, and like one of his only like words is family,
family.
So unless he's just been watching Fast and the Furious on repeat, but other than that,
family.
But he just figured out that's his pack, that's who he's all down with. But there's fucking Dave just like, nope, I'm gonna creep on this girl, and I'm gonna have people over to my fucking hole in my backyard,
like mud hole in my backyard,
my pit that I have that I dug out myself. Oh goodness gracious! This movie's a lot of fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I did. Thank you for giving me an excuse to watch it.
Thanks so much for coming on our show, man. This was really fun.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime. Thank you so much. Like I was saying, thank you so much for coming on our show. This was a great time. You've added so much science in quotation marks.
Yeah, heavy quotation marks.
You'll be credited as our anthropological consultant.
Handsome Joe.
It's all I've ever wanted.
You'll be all over social media as an anthropology consultant on Encino Man. Thanks, man. This was lots of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I had a blast, guys. Until the next episode.
Definitely. We'll see you next time, dude.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between.
This is probably one of the longest episodes we've done.
Well, we'll see how long it is once we chop it all up.
It was a fun time, though.
It was so much fun. I love Encino Man. And
end of our Brendan Fraser summer miniseries.
For now.
Mm-hmm.
But what I have to say about Encino Man is that Brendan Fraser has the face of an angel.
So
I haven't
dreamy.
said it before in this episode.
So
angel
handsome.
Face.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. And I love Encino Man. Go watch this movie if you haven't already. You can rent it, for a couple bucks to watch at home. If you don't want to do that, I'm not telling you how else to find it.
Pirate Online. You can find it.
But go rent this movie. It's totes fun. It's got Sean Astin, potatoes, chop them up, put them in a stew, right? Mm-hmm. And Pauly Shore. If you're not familiar with Pauly Shore, listeners, this is a great intro to Pauly. I mean, come on. Doesn't get any better.
Definitely.
Yeah. And then
I mean, when they're doing the Pauly Shore criterion, it's going to be Encino Man, Son-in-Law.
Yeah.
And I would probably do jury duty over in the Army now.
Sure.
But,
go watch those movies if you can. And in the meantime, go check us out on social media. We are at Movies That Made Us Gay on Facebook and Instagram. And we are at MTMUG Pod on Twitter. And while you are on iTunes, you should
rate and subscribe and give us a review. It helps us track
with
all of the weird Apple Podcast algorithms.
Yes, indeed. You should rate us, you should review us, and you should give us 5 stars while you're on Instagram. Thank you for listening, everybody. This was so much fun, and we will very shortly be back with a brand new episode.
Disappearing from the top model photo.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye.
Bye.